Good morning, Mike Hanberry. Your minions are here. We're here to talk about the social media group, Denver, continuing the conversation. We're going to talk about customer referrals today, and we have Mike Hanberry in the audience, so we're pretty thrilled. And Mike I think this is your first hangout to watch. I wasn't sure if you wanted to be on the panel or not. We like to do a camera check and that sort of thing a day before, but I see that we're just going to go here and welcome you. Hey, so I got here, clicked on the play button. What else do I need to do to get on this thing? You are now watching, Mike, and if you would like to be on the panel, I will send you a private link, and if you've got a camera and audio and a headset, we would love to have you on the panel with us. So that, if we get to do that, we'll just get to demonstrate how easy it is. Oh, hang on a second. I did not mute. I didn't mute my laptop. Okay, so here we are. Welcome. It's April 22nd, 2014. I'm going to take
Earth Day
here. Earth Day. Thank you, Mariah. It's Earth Day. And we're in Denver, and this is continuing the conversation from our local meetup, which is sponsored by Webolutions, a local digital marketing and strategy company, and they bring us together once a month to talk about all kinds of things social media. The topic last Friday at our meetup was customer referrals. I'm going to ask each of our panelists who are members of the Denver meetup group, I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself briefly. Of course, there are links in the event description to their Google Plus profiles, so you can find out all you need to know about them. But I'd like to bring you on to just say hi and share with us a piece of Denver trivia. I'm going to start with Gary. Take it away, Gary.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Pokorn, and I am the guest sales professional to the Denver Social Media Marketing for Business Meetup group. Happy to be here this morning. My trivia is really Colorado-based more than Denver-based, and that is, for those of you that don't know, the U.S. Bureau of Land Management manages a wild Mustang horse management program, and the adoption center in Colorado is the federal penitentiary in Canyon City.
Pretty interesting trivia about Denver. Thank you, Gary, for being here. Leland, we're going to bring you up next. And again, we're each sharing a piece of Denver trivia because we're pretty proud of the state that we live in. I'm sorry, Denver's a city. Colorado's where we live, the state. Sometimes I forget that, and that's not, Leland, good morning.
Good morning. I'm Leland Watson, and I actually have been in the marketing industry for a little over 30 years, and primarily in the direct response marketing area. Started out in printing and direct mail, and have migrated from there into all forms of marketing, and pretty passionate about that. And as far as Denver trivia, again, mine's more Colorado, but mine kind of applies to the marketing, and that is that we're second in line as far as the most associations with headquarters in any state in the union, Washington, D.C. being the number one number of associations, but we have a lot of associations and covering a lot of different genres in Colorado.
So Colorado is growing as most states are, and that kind of trivia is stuff that we just don't hear very often. By the way, I do like your lower third, marketing sleuth. I think that's quite fitting.
Thanks.
Mariah, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Mariah Weiss. I work for Reed Art and Imaging, and we are a fine art reproduction studio and large format graphic house, and we work very closely with all of the artists in Colorado, not just in Denver. And on that note, we have a district in Denver called the Rhino District. So my trivia is Denver based, and Rhino stands for River North Art District, and it is down in the 30s, and goodness, just on the north side of downtown Denver, and it has become quite the hopping place to be if you are an artist or an entrepreneur or a new business owner. That's the place to be right now, is in the Rhino District.
I never knew what rhino meant. Thank you. So that trivia is. Did you say this is one I think everybody knows, Mariah?
No, I was going to say another one, but Rhino took its place.
I think that was a great one. Thank you very much. And I don't know if I coerced Mariah into being on the panel today, but I'm glad to have you back. I know that you haven't done a lot of these, but you really are a natural in front of the camera, so enjoy it. Enjoy it.
My
Peter,
palms are sweaty, but that's okay.
Hey, you know what? So are mine. So that's okay. Okay, Peter. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Peter Hodges with Marathon Consulting and Stack Advisors. We do IT support and system design for small and medium-sized businesses. And my trivia is in 1935, a gentleman who ran the Humpty Dumpty Diner drive-in was awarded a trademark for the cheeseburger here in Denver.
He was,
so it's controversial. There's a bunch of other places that claim to have invented the cheeseburger, but Denver's one of those places.
Would that be Louis Ballast by any chance?
That's right. I wasn't sure how to pronounce the Frenchy last name, so I just
I saw that piece of trivia as well, but it did not mention Humpty Dumpty. So you took it a little further than the trivia website. So very interesting, and welcome, Peter. I want to mention we have Martha Brown, who is new to the social media group in Denver. I met her for the first time just last Friday. She has a business called Brown Bear Social Media, I think is what it is. And it was great to see you, Martha, yesterday on Jason Weiser's Hangout. I saw you not only commenting, but also tweeting, because I was over doing the live tweeting for Jason during his show, and so I got to see all your tweets, which were fabulous. So welcome. Thank you for being here this morning, and we hope all this trivia helps you get oriented to Denver. John Harris joined us kind of at the last minute this morning, and I would ask you to introduce yourself, John.
Thank you very much. I'm John Harris. I'm with Reed Art and Imaging. I am a co-worker with Mariah Weiss, and I too work in electronic marketing. And my trivia this morning is about the Colorado State Capitol, which resides in Denver. Anyone who's been in the state capitol has likely seen the red marble that decorates various parts of the Capitol, and that marble is called Beulah Red, and all of the world's known Beulah Red marble is in the Capitol. So apparently we have all of it.
Which means that it cannot be replaced.
That's
because we already have all of it. So I'm Debbie Davis, and I just coordinate the technical part of this conversation so that people from our social media group in Denver, did I get everybody? Yeah, I got everybody, didn't I? Yeah. So that our people, our group from social media marketing group in Denver can get together, talk a little bit more about whatever it was we're talking about within our group. So thank you all for being here. My piece of trivia is, you often hear that Denver is the mile-high city, but did you know, first of all, that that means that we're 5,280 feet above sea level? And maybe you did, but here's the really fun part. It's actually the 13th step of the state capitol building in Denver that is exactly 5,280 feet above sea level. So when you're standing on the 13th step, you are 1 mile high. Okay, so I have, we may have one more guest join us, but while we're waiting for him to hopefully make that link work, we're going to just push on. Again, the subject of our meetup on Friday was using social media, or the role of social media in customer referrals and customer loyalty. And Webolutions always provides us with a really cool handout, and I'm going to just refer to that handout right now because they gave us a definition of customer loyalty. And I'm going to read it out loud while I have it up here on the screen as well. Loyalty, a commitment to rebuy or repatronize a preferred product or service in the future, despite situational influences and marketing efforts having the potential to cause switching behavior. So just to kind of give us a starting point, the one thing I want to point out here is that that definition of customer loyalty would work now while we have social media, and it would have worked 10 years ago before social media. So I do want to make the point that social media is not like the magic bullet, you know, to generate customer loyalty. Customer loyalty is, and then you see the bullet points below that definition. Customer loyalty requires a superior product or a superior service or a superior way of presenting your product or service. So you still have to run a pretty good business to generate customer loyalty, but we're going to talk today about how we can use social media to do that. And we want to, again, thank Webolutions. And Mike, prepare yourself. I'm going to put you on screen. I'm blue boxing Mike. He is our leader, and he's the one who keeps us going. We're 5 years into the social marketing group in Denver, and Mike is our fearless leader. Welcome to the panel.
You know, what's funny is that fearless leader is what I call Vaholic around the office. So that's flattering. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here this morning.
If you could get Vaholic around the office on one of these, we would love that too. So we appreciate you being here, Mike, and this is a great, like I said, this is a great demonstration of how easy it is. I'm going to unblue box. Hang on a second. I've got all kinds of things going on here. Right now, all I have is my screen share on, so I think I need to take the screen share off. Is that the deal? Yeah, there we go.
I've never been blue box before. It didn't hurt at all.
All right. Well, good. Okay. Exactly what I'm saying is it's easy and it's painless. So, Mike, thanks for being. We have a great panel of speakers now. And, Mike, you know what? We have all introduced ourselves. Would you like to give just a quick introduction in case people don't know who you are?
My name is Mike Hanberry. I'm Director of New Media Strategies here at Webolutions, and yeah, I do a lot of the organizing and content planning for the social marketing group. I'm a big fan of this entire initiative, and I apologize it's taken me so long to get here, but I'm very excited.
Wonderful. We are really excited to have you here. When I looked at the comment stream last night and saw what was going on there, I was like, ooh, I had better be on my best behavior. So I'm all dressed up. That's why I don't have my pajamas on or anything today. Because
well, see, you mentioned pajamas at the group, and so I'm doing this from the office, and I thought pajamas were a requirement, so it's a little awkward.
I have my pajamas on, but no one will ever know.
Well, we all know now, Mariah.
We know, but you won't see them.
Right. Okay. Let us jump into our topic, and of course I always send a little briefing kind of conversation points to our panel, so I'm going to ask any one of you to just jump in and let's start talking about loyalty and specifically about social media and how social media can be used to maximize, capitalize on, or generate customer loyalty. Jump in anytime.
It seems to me that the basis of customer loyalty is a relationship. And it seems to me like social media is all about relationships. So to me, it's almost like redundant to say social media loyalty because it's to me, it's one and the same.
I'm sorry, I had myself on mute there for a second, Leland. So social media loyalty, can you help me understand exactly your perspective on that?
Well, loyalty to me, customer loyalty, is the process of developing a relationship with the customer to the point to where they want to do business with you because you're you, partially because of what you're offering, but mostly because of you.
Absolutely.
And the same way with social media, the reason you connect and engage with somebody on social media is because you're you. And so to me, it's like almost one and the same. Social media is a customer loyalty or customer relationship platform.
And I'd say this is another good example of using social media to build loyalty. What we're doing right now, we're taking the monthly meetup group that might just be a once-a-month event, and we're expanding upon it and making it much more of a, for lack of a better term, sticky group for at least me. I really love doing these, and it's a good way to continue the conversation, and it's a good way to force yourself to be articulate about ideas you might have learned and present them back out to the world.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think that when I thought about customer loyalty and social media, I thought, who am I? What brand am I loyal to? And of course, I did think, Peter, about this group. I mean, I love this group. I've loved this group forever. And on social media, it's easy to ping on Twitter or Facebook or whatever once in a while just to check in. But I'm finding that these face-to-face opportunities really helps. But a brand that I'm loyal to, for example, is Subaru. I love my Subaru. Everyone knows I love my Subaru. I took pictures of the 100,000 mile mark. When I hit that, I love my Subaru. I thought, I have never been to their social media site. So last night I went and checked out. They're on just about everything. They're not on Google. Well, they have a community on Google+, but it's run by just a loyal fan. It's not run by Subaru. But they have...
That's how CocaCola started on Facebook, you know.
Tell me about that.
Well,
Yep.
that's how Coke started on Facebook. Peter knows this. The Coca-Cola didn't say we're going to have a Facebook page. These couple of guys in Iowa started a Facebook page for Coca-Cola, and it got up to a million fans. And Facebook came to Coca-Cola and said, "Look, we need you to do something about this." And Coke said, "We're really not interested," but they got interested and actually took over the page. But that's interesting that Subaru has a Google Plus community. It's something very similar may happen there.
So I wonder if social media isn't actually a manifestation of customer loyalty rather than a tool to generate customer loyalty.
Well, in that sense it is, but I mean, can't you go find websites and communities built around whatever the opposite of loyalty is, ComcastSucks.com.
The troll sites.
Yeah. And so when I was listening to Lee's comments, I think social media is a tool. It's a communications tool. I think very much like the way you answer the phone or the way you conduct yourselves with clients or employees or partners in any aspect of your business. And you decide if by the actions that you take in your conduct, if you are going to generate loyalty or generate contentedness or satisfaction or make somebody feel very good about leaving you and going to do business someplace else. I think it depends on it depends on how you conduct yourself and how you manifest that relationship.
So then we talk about using the social media, what's going on social media, how you behave on it as the business owner. And one of the things, I'm going to quickly again screen share, and hopefully we'll unscreen share when I'm done. The handout, again, Mike, I told you at the meetup, I love this handout. One of my favorite parts about it's the back side of the handout if you have the hard copy in front of you, but here it is in front of you now on the screen. And one of the things that I really like on this handout is social media's role. You guys actually gave us some tactics of how you can use social media. One of them, I think it's the third one down, use the social channel to learn product and service development opportunities to meet and get ahead of market demand and expectations. To me, this just screams, you use social media to listen. You listen. You don't worry so much about broadcasting, about marketing, about selling on social media, but you use it as a tool to listen. And that's just something that I've been kind of preaching. Anytime somebody comes to me and says, "Deb, I want you to help me with my social media, here's everything I want to say." And I say, you know what, for the first 3 months, we're not going to say anything. We're going to listen. We're going to listen. If you're not using the tool as a consumer, you cannot understand how a consumer is affected by what they see on social media. So get used to that first and start by listening. So I'm just going to take that screen share off again. Again, Mike, love the handout that you guys provided us. You guys give us so much information to work from. So I'm gonna shut up, and I'm gonna let somebody else talk for a little while.
John, did you know you're on mute? You do? You don't want to say anything? You're going to make me do it?
That's right. That's
All right. Kind of on what Leland was saying, one of the things that we do at Reed is we like to pride ourselves on our integrity. And when we are out in the social media sphere, we have a persona. Again, we go back to persona. We spent a lot of time on this on the last hangout I was on, but we really, really listen to all of the different personas that we attract on social media, and we're loyal to them as individuals, as customers. We interact with them, we engage with them, and we're not constantly selling to them. And that helps build on that relationship. They feel like they know us. And Reed has been in Denver for 37 years, and if you mention the name Reed to most artists and most photographers, they know who we are, because our brand is synonymous in the art industry, but because we are a good company, we are loyal to our customers, and in return they are loyal to us, and we like to provide them with not just a good product, but with a really good experience when they come in. They know everybody by name, the owners still work there, the children of the owners work there, and it transfers through to social media. And if I, in particular, because I do the majority of the talking online through our social media accounts, if I meet someone on social media, the first thing I do is invite them in to see who we are as a company and to meet us face to face.
Gary, I would like to address you. First of all, do you need to leave at 8 o'clock today? I know that you always have a standing meeting.
I do.
Okay. All right. So I want to make sure that I get you in on this. Mariah, before we move away from you, though, I would like to keep persona on deck and voice, because I think that Reed really exemplifies a shared voice, which is, I think, really important when a business is using social media to interact with their clients or their customer base. But Gary, before you have to leave, one, I'd like you to just pipe in and tell us what's on your mind, and two, in that definition of loyalty, I noticed that the word value proposition is used, and yes, I know that you have an opinion about that.
Well, I have an opinion about most things, but you know, as I mentioned when I introduced myself, I'm not a marketing professional, I'm a sales professional, and I split that here because salespeople think differently. At least I think differently as I listen to your conversation. I'm always thinking about how I can monetize things. That's not to say that I don't want to have a positive relationship with my customer. I do. But my customer doesn't need to build a relationship with a salesperson to have a transaction facilitated. So I always listen to these discussions around social media with the ear of a sales professional trying to figure out how could I monetize this? Is this really something that I should spend more time learning, using, etc.? And so this group is just a great group for me to listen, to your point, Debbie, and to learn about how other people think about things. I think about things from the paradigm of a buyer, not from a seller. And I think in the marketplace today, buyers want their transactions facilitated. And I think their loyalty really sits today on ease of transacting more than relationship. And I think that there's a great segment of social media that is used in the marketplace today for pure entertainment purposes and has nothing to do at all with transacting. So those are the simple views of a salesperson trying to pedal as fast as he can to keep up with your conversations. Um, and so I would just put that on the table for the group to attack and yell at me about.
I appreciate you always being prepared for the attack. I don't think anybody's going to attack, and if you are, I get to launch you off
okay.
out of the film strip.
It's okay. We're all friends.
We are all friends. Yeah. Would anyone like to comment on that? Because Gary does come from a very specific, distinct point of view that may not be visible to people who are immersed in the marketing aspect.
I am a sales representative for Reed. That is my primary job at Reed. The social media marketing is just something I happen to be good at and I really love doing, so I asked to do it. But I'm on the other spectrum. I build relationships before I sell someone something. Because myself, I don't want to just buy from somebody. I want to know what they feel about their product, if they believe in their product, and unless I get a chance to know them and they get a chance to know me, they won't see the passion that I have for my job and for what we do. So I absolutely love the relationship aspect that I build with my customers and my clients. So
I'd like to comment about that too. I believe that there's a place for sales and a place for marketing, and I believe they work hand in hand. And that seems to be one of the difficulties with a lot of companies, seeing how they do work together. But Peter Drucker, the famous marketing and business consultant, once said marketing makes sales superfluous, and he didn't mean that it made it unnecessary. He meant that marketing paves the way for the salesperson and paves the way in the relationship, and the relationship then is softened by marketing so the salesperson can go in and take care of business. And I've had to kind of relearn my whole craft based on that, because coming up through the printing and publishing and direct mail business, everything was always about selling. It was about this month's orders. And I think that's all changed. That's all changed because now people know what they want to buy via the internet primarily before they even talk to you. And then in my opinion, what the salesperson's job is to give them the information they need to complete that transaction. So I think I think there's a place for both. I think marketing has changed drastically over the last few years, and I think social media has probably been the primary driver of that change.
I'd like to bring up, Martha said, Gary, that's great perspective. I think it's important to keep that reality check of how the customer sees social media and the relationship involved. And you know what? I think we're all pedaling as fast as we can to keep up with this stuff. And it's so important to understand the fact that things are changing a lot because of social media, and sales and marketing I think have always had to work really hard to understand each other, and maybe even more so these days. We're right coming up to the top of the hour here. I just want to remind people we're doing the social media group in Denver meetup, Continue the Conversation. We're a group that meets in real life the third Friday of every month. I also would like to say good morning to Mia Voss, who is a Denverite and who has created raving fans out of lots of us. She runs a great Friday show at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. Good morning, Mia. It's good to have you here. Thanks for being part of our group. And at the end of today's show, I'll be talking about a Denver, Colorado in real life meetup that we're planning for May 17th. I'll give you some more details about that for those of you who are here in Denver. So again, let's just continue on with that conversation then, balancing marketing and sales with social media, particularly to generate customer loyalty.
So I'll leave, Debbie, I'll leave the group with one last paradigm from my perspective, again, as a simple sales professional. I believe a lot of organizations and individuals do more damage with their social media efforts than they do building relationships. That it's very simple to push the more button, and I think by pushing the more button, we turn off the receptivity from our customer, not because our messages aren't good, not because our messages aren't valuable. There's just too much. So I'll leave the group with that thought as well. And thank you for letting me share my opinions, and look forward to seeing you all down the road.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for being here, Gary. Be sure to watch the rest of this recording because we will probably add to what you have to say. You've offered a lot. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Okay. Would anyone like to add to that?
I think I'd like to jump in here if that's okay.
Please do.
Thank you. I would agree with Gary when it comes to more. I know we talked several times about this issue with social media glut, and how that there's an opportunity for all of us as social media marketers to be a little bit more responsible with what we're pushing. And through that responsibility, we may get more proper attention from our audience. When we put just tons and tons, and when I mean we, I'm not meaning exclusively one company, I mean we as a community of marketers. When we just constantly push content out there, that puts the social media user in a position where they now have to filter everything that comes down their stream to determine whether or not it's something that's going to have value to them. And if we want to stand out, our content has to be superb, in my opinion. And I don't mean to make fun of people who do cat videos, but I seem to say this every time we get together. There's only just so many cat videos a person can consume in a day. Right? And so you get to a point where you go, oh man, it's just another cat video, and so you ignore it. Or, oh man, it's just another blog post reshare, and you ignore it. Oh man, it's just another top 10 list, and you ignore it. Because everybody's just regurgitating the same types of content. And like Gary said, we're pushing the more button. For some reason, so many of us have got caught up in this, well, you must post 3 times a day, and pick during the peak hours, and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and et cetera, et cetera. But there are no real hard and fast rules, in my opinion. I think that the audience that you are trying to speak to has its own sets of desires and usage habits on social media. Not every persona is the type of persona that's going to sit at their computer at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go through social media. Hence the specific channels like LinkedIn and Facebook and whatnot. If your audience tends to be up at 2 a.m. in the morning, even though the peak of your page activity is at 2 p.m., when are you best to post? It's not best to post during your peak hours. It's best to post when your persona is using social media, your target personas. And not everyone on your social media page is your target persona, right? And sometimes this happens when we put out contests or we put out other programs to try to drive likes, for instance, to our Facebook page, or to drive circle followers. Just because they follow you doesn't mean that they are your target audience. Okay? They may have an interest, somewhat of an interest in what you do. For instance, because we're in photography and fine art, who doesn't have some type of a camera, right? Our cell phones, for instance, right? So, and people love to learn about photography. And artists, whether they're budding or hobbyists, like to learn about art. So they may follow a page to get information about their joys and their passions, but they're not your target persona because they're not necessarily your buying audience. So I'll lean back again a little further to a comment about knowing how your audience is using social media, right? How the consumer is using social media. And it's not just the consumer, in my opinion. It's not just the consumer as a global stereotype, but it's your consumer. How is your consumer using social media? with that information, I believe you're in a better position to target those individuals that you are hoping to sell to or presently sell to, which now comes back to loyalty, which is where we were talking before. The people who buy from me are up at 2 a.m., and I'm not saying that that's our audience. If they're up at 2 a.m. and all of my communication happens at 2 p.m., and by the time they get on their social media channel, everything we've said has been pushed so far down the bottom of their stream they never see it. Where's the relationship building in that? Right? So I think it comes down to knowing your audience and understanding your audience. And for us, the best way we found to do that is to build solid IRL relationships whenever possible. Mariah talked about how she likes to build a relationship before she starts to sell. And I think that that's the way our entire company operates. We like to do business with people we like, not just as a company, but as a human condition. We like to work with people that are of like mind we like, or that we also like. And so I think the relationship building in our market comes first, because we're not out just to sell to everybody. We're out to work with people that we like to work with.
Yeah, it's really hard to sell to someone who doesn't like you and can tell that you are uncomfortable with them. And how do you build loyalty and a relationship with someone who's come in already guarded? That's my opinion. I'm a fairly open person, I'm a friendly person, and when I can put someone at ease, if they're just walking in, they're there for the service that we provide. I want to put them at ease. I want to have that relationship with them. And if I can have a relationship with them online before they come in, they're less guarded. People purchase on emotional levels, and if they can feel comfortable with me, they're more likely to purchase from me, and they're more likely to be loyal to me and the company that I work for, and we tend to give back to them. We have a referral program for anyone the most referrals, I believe, and then the most dollars of referrals generated. We have something that we give back to our customers. We gave an iPad mini, we gave a $500 gift certificate. So not only do we appreciate the referrals and the loyalty, but we also repay that to our customers. And I think that's important too. Kind of like the punch card.
Right, and I think that was actually brought up in the meetup last Friday, is that social media is the new punch card. I think Jody Martin mentioned that, and that, if you have engagement with your customers, that's like giving them another punch on the punch card, and you're more visible in their mind, and that punch card doesn't expire now because we've got social media where we can keep that living, we can keep that visibility higher, and the engagement actually gets stronger. So it's sort of a punch card on steroids, basically. But I loved that analogy that she threw out there on Friday during the meetup. That one really hit home for me. Peter, we have not heard hardly anything from you today, and I love listening to you. Make sure that, and by the way, if you just need to say something, raise your hand because I can see the whole film strip. There you go.
All right, thinking about it, Mariah just mentioned that you buy emotionally, and I would say this is where social media can support sales. Gary seems to focus a lot on facilitating the transaction, which is awesome. But what about facilitating the second transaction? One of the definitions I've heard of ethical sales and marketing is selling you something and then making you feel good about the fact that you bought it. And we've all had buyer's remorse where we buy something and the money seems to disappear into a deep, dark hole and you're never going to be able to get any sort of customer support or anything like that. Where I think you can use social media is to facilitate that transaction and then continue to support people feeling good about having made that purchase. Reed does a great job about getting out there with contests and showing off their clients' work and just making me feel good about being part of that community, as an example. So think about how, and I don't worry about whether I'm publishing too much. I I think I need to be the expert in certain situations, and if I share something with my network, I think it's valuable. And if you don't have time to read it right then, that's okay. But I want to I want that to be a hey, oh, there's Peter. Oh, I wonder what that is. You know, he wouldn't share that with me unless he thought it was important. So that's how I kind of approach the frequency thing. All right, I think that's good. What do you guys think?
Jump in, anyone? Okay, what I thought of when you said that, Peter, was that you had actually touched back on customer retention, that second sale. And we talked about customer retention last month. All of this stuff, all of this hooks together. It's about running a good business with a good product or service and using social media to complement it, enhance it, maximize it, leverage it. And there are a million ways to do it. I think Gary pointed out very astutely that you can do damage with social media too. Social media is like putting a big spotlight on your company, and that's great if you're a person who's worth being in a spotlight or a business that's worth being in a spotlight. But what if you get out there and you're stumbling around, you don't know your choreography, you don't know the words to the song, and the spotlight is on you? And Peter, you're a performing arts person. How awful would that be? So Gary was absolutely right. Social media can hurt you.
Oh, I would agree with that if you do it poorly. So that's why I always recommend, just like you do, I call it learning the grammar of the whatever network you're on. You know, learn what a retweet means. Learn how to use hashtags on Instagram. You know, learn the language of the room before you start jumping up in front of people and drawing attention for the wrong reasons. But see, that's another thing that I think people need to think about. If you're there, we'll go back to Avinash. I know Avinash Kaushik is the marketing evangelist or the digital analytics evangelist for Google, and he talked about how he used to post on his blog, I think once a day. Then he went to once every other day, and he always got worried because he wanted to go. He now publishes once every 3 weeks. So he publishes when he has something important to say. And he does a great job of managing how people come to him. So to your point, if you're going to jump in and start publishing on social media before you learn the room, that might not be a bad idea, or it might not be a good idea, pardon me. But it still shouldn't deter you from at least participating.
And participating can be done safely if you just get in and start using social media as a consumer.
Absolutely.
Start going in and learning how to use hashtags. John said, well, you know, if your audience is, you know, what is on social media at 2 a.m., maybe that's when that's when you should be. You know what? My audience, I teach them immediately. If you want to find out what I'm saying, go to Twitter, use the search bar, put in DebDrive. Because all of this stuff is coming at us. We have to learn, as consumers, we're learning how to filter it and categorize it and pace it and take that fire hose and turn it into a water fountain or a pond where we can go and get a drink when we want it, when we're thirsty. And consumers are learning how to do that, you know, filtration and how to pace it. It's not as overwhelming anymore, I don't think. I may be completely wrong. There are still a lot of people out there who feel overwhelmed by social media, I'm sure, and you have to know who your audience is and help them find you, make yourself available. And Peter, like you said, you put a lot of information out there because you probably have your ideal client persona probably looks for you in 100 different places, and you know that, and that is why you can post a lot and in 100 different places.
Well, and determining who your target audience is who you're going to build that relationship with and create the loyalty with is you have to do that first. The millennial generation that's out there now, they have the ability to filter this. They have not been alive without the internet. So they already know what they want to know, how to find it, and when to find it. If your target audience is not a millennial, if it's a baby boomer, you need to learn and understand that this whole process of social media may be overwhelming if it's not something that they're that is part of their daily lives?
You know, I have a difficult time with some of the posting, and this is just a personal thought, but somebody mentioned cats and different things, and I don't particularly have an affinity for cats. I don't particularly have an affinity for, I like photography, but I don't like just to be barraged with a lot of pictures. So social media to me is kind of a mixed bag, because there's a lot of stuff on there that I don't care for, but then there's all these nuggets on there that I pull out that I really love. And so it's been an interesting transition for me. I pushed back against social media as a whole for quite a while, and now I'm pretty involved in it. But you know, the bottom line to me is that it's back to this personal relationship and engaging on a different level. Someone told me that, you know, to engage on social media should be the same way as engaging in person when you're at a meeting or at a meetup or whatever. And I have a little bit of a difficulty time getting it onto that level again, but I'm getting there. And I think social media to me is defined by the word social. And so to put a lot of sales into it, to put a lot of you know, really hardcore marketing into it, takes away from the social aspect of it, and sometimes to me I think comes across offensively.
Okay, I'd like to pop over here to John. You've got a comment which I had actually pinned as well. So let's hear what you have to say about this.
Awesome. Okay, so Sandra asks, it seems to me that this topic is feeling a bit like pulling teeth. Is it because social media and customer retention is difficult to determine the how? I don't know if I personally have had any challenges with determining the how, as much as the challenges with getting upper management to accept the hows that we have come up with via social media. We have a challenge, Mariah and I do, in that upper management in our company does not use social media. And so they speak directly to that comment made earlier about you need to understand how the consumer uses it. You need to use it yourself as a consumer to understand how it can be effective in marketing towards the consumer. But that question also got me to thinking about 5 laws written by an author, Charles Fillmore, that I came across this weekend, and I'd like to share those with you right now because I think they speak quite a bit to customer retention as well as business success. The law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much more you give in value than you take in payment. The law of compensation. Your income is determined by how many people you serve and how well you serve them. The law of influence. Your influence is determined by how abundantly you place other people's interests first. The law of authenticity. The most valuable gift you have to offer is yourself. And the law of receptivity. The key to effective giving is to stay open to receiving. Now, I read these and I see so much social media, how we use social media in these laws. These laws were written by Charles Fillmore in 1905. So, you know, they've certainly been around a while, and I would have to say that I certainly agree with each and every one of those laws. And the one that resonates with me the most, based on this conversation about customer retention, is the first one, the law of value. Your true worth is determined by how much you give in value than you take in payment, or how much more you give in value. And giving in value does not necessarily equate to giving in product or service per se, if that's what you're charging for. Value is not limited exclusively to your billable goods. Value goes beyond that, right? We had some sales professionals here in the panel talking about what are you doing after the sale, right? Peter mentioned the second sale. right? It's what you do afterwards that continues to add value to that transaction beyond the exchange of cash or other capital investment. So I believe that customer retention is a big part of value. And Webolutions, from my understanding, is very big on experiential marketing. That's what they helped us with, is creating that experience so that when that customer leaves your facility or receives your product, the experience that they got from the beginning through the follow-through beyond receiving that product, that experience is exemplary, something that they cannot get anywhere else and will leave a lasting positive impression with them. And for me, that speaks to value, right? That experience is part of that value. So I believe that providing ongoing value is the key to customer retention and loyalty.
If I can just jump in here and bring us back full circle, the handout that we got started out with the definition of loyalty, and it very much hinges on value, and it goes beyond the situational influences and marketing efforts that might otherwise take you away from it. So value is definitely a huge part of customer loyalty. And it goes back to, so you know, this is a good definition. Thank you, John, for bringing out those 5 laws. I jotted those down because I want to look at them a little deeper. But it's really interesting to know that those were you know, written down in 1905. So we're down to our last 10 minutes. We have a large panel. Michael, let's hear from you.
Thanks. It's been very interesting to hear everybody's takes on this. I want to point out that I think there's a difference between customer retention and customer loyalty. I think those are 2 different things. Retention means, okay, I bought this from you and I'll keep buying this from you. It's a rational decision based on value, based on quality, based on utility. Customer loyalty is not as quantifiable. It is an irrational decision. I identify with you. It's not that I have purchased this more than once, or that I continue to purchase this more than once. It is an emotional connection of we are in this together. You are my partner. When there are problems, we will work through them together. And so that's where we're really trying to go with this topic on Friday is how can we use social media? How can social media influence that type of loyalty? The opportunities really come from when things don't go as expected. You can look at any number of. We certainly experienced this in my former life as a corporate schlub, where the and I'm sure that a lot of us have had this type of experience in our own purchase behavior, our own consumer behavior. It's not whether or not a company provides what they said they would. It's when things don't go right and you find out how much they really care that loyalty really starts to present itself. So I'm not suggesting that we go screw things up so we have the opportunity to prove to somebody how well we recover. But I really wanted to just bring things back there if I could and say that overall, we went through this curriculum where we said, okay, how are we going to use social media to generate more leads, to attract more customers, and then to close more leads, to convert more of those leads to customers. And then we went into customer retention, what Peter calls the second sale, so we can maintain that relationship. But really, what I hope that we're thinking about is how to take that beyond the I get what I pay for, and so I'll keep paying for it. This is social media. This opportunity, the opportunity to use this tool to connect on a deeper level, and generate decisions based on irrational facts. Just like I do business with you in the same way that I go home to my family. I don't think about it. It's just that's how life is.
And so what I'm hearing, I mean, Mike, you guys have given us, every month we have a topic. Every month when we have these continuing conversation, episodes, these meetings, HOAs, we find that generating leads and generating sales and customer retention and customer referral and customer loyalty, all this stuff overlaps and blends. It's great that we attempt to address each one of these aspects of our business and social media's role in that, but they all play together. And so overall, you can't worry too much about tactics. Let's post 3 times a day, and you need to have a big picture. I like to use the word strategy because that's my deal. So we do have to wrap this. This is the 3rd conversation this month we've had on social media's role in customer referrals and customer loyalty. This is the 3rd conversation, and we could go on for another 3 hours. I want to thank everybody for being here. I'm going to ask each one of you to give me a quick 30-second takeaway that we can have at the end of this video for our viewers. And I am going to start with Leland.
Well, I do appreciate the dialogue and the engagement that we've had on this subject and on marketing in general throughout this this program. And I feel more than ever now that marketing is a moving target, that I have to just every day learn something new about it and some new aspect of it. But some of the things have, in my opinion, have also always stayed the same, and that is that when you develop a relationship with a customer or with a client, and that relationship evolves around you liking each other, you liking each other's presence, you liking to work with each other, etc., that the marketing side of it kind of falls into place. And so to me, the relationship part of it is paramount to the customer loyalty, to the customer retention, to the customer relationship. And so that's my takeaway, is that I think while things have changed rapidly, in some respects they haven't changed at all. It's still that relationship that is the basis of what we're talking about.
Leland, I would love to do sound bites from each of your closing statements for the 4 or 5 programs you've been on, because you are consistent in your message, so I appreciate that a lot. Peter, can you give us a takeaway?
Sure. Thinking about what Mike was saying about the difference between retention and loyalty, if you had a client who had an offer from a different vendor for what you do, and they were going to save you, the vendor was going to save you 10%, what would your client say? I had a vendor in a past job that was a print vendor, and when I stuck with him. He was a little bit more expensive, but I trusted he would get things done. He and I knew how to work together. And I was a very loyal client for that reason. An extra 10% off wasn't going to get me to switch. So what would your clients do if they got a 10% off coupon from someone else?
I think that's probably a good litmus test, and keep asking yourself that question. John, I'm going to move over to you now. Your takeaway.
Wow, Peter, you always come up with some of the best little nuggets. I'm gonna write that down right after this. If it's okay, I'm going to use it at least once, maybe twice. That's awesome. That could be a fantastic blog post topic as well. So my takeaway is one more thing that really has never changed in marketing, is that for marketing to be effective, we need to meet our customers where they are and when they are there. And it doesn't matter the platform or the channel, whether it's radio or television or social media or search engine ads or print ads. You need to meet them where they are and when they are there. And I have to emphasize the when they are there, because if they're not there when you think they're going to be there, your message goes unseen. So dig a little deeper into understanding your personas. and not just the channels that they're on, but also when they're on those channels, so that your message has its highest potential to be seen.
Thank you, John. Personas, is near and dear to my heart, so I concur. Mariah.
Well, everyone has taken the words right out of my mouth. I don't know what else I can add to this. It's a great panel, and it just solidifies my belief that having passion and integrity for what you're doing, whether it's marketing or selling, either one is what is going to help you succeed. And I love what I do. I love social media. I absolutely think that it is the best thing since sliced bread. If you give it a chance, you really need to know what you're doing, and building those relationships is what is going to solidify the loyalty and the retention and referrals.
I love give social media a chance and know what you're doing. Those are my 2 takeaways from you. Mike, I'm going to ask you for your takeaway, and then I want to remind you that when I say stop broadcast, we'd like you to stay on in what we call the green room. Again, Mike is brand new to this whole panel experience, and so and I know the first time I did this, when they hit stop broadcast, I was out of there and I didn't get to stick around. So Mike, a takeaway for our listening audience.
Your best opportunity for brand champions, those that are going to exhibit customer loyalty, or those who have purchased the second time, they are the customers who have been retained. Go make sure that they're part of your social media conversation.
He's a true communicator, concise, to the point. My takeaway, the customer is in control. They will filter you, they will report you for spamming, they can block you, but then they can also share you. So decide how you're going to be received by your customer, and then appeal to them in that way to get them to do what you would like them to do. Think it through. Think like your customer. So I also mentioned that I was going to talk about an in real life gathering. We're putting it together for May 17th. A group from Colorado and probably largely Denver will meet at Chautauqua Park on May 17th for an in real life. For those of you who are watching who don't get to do this in real life thing, I love the fact that we're an in real life meetup group, third Friday every month, hosted and sponsored by Webolutions. Again, Mike, we thank you for all the time and expense that goes into putting these together, because it makes us all better at the jobs that we do. We're going to close the show with that. Thank you, everybody. By the way, the comments are great. We didn't get to all of them. We didn't get to all of our subjects because this was a very rich conversation. Thank you for putting comments in there. We will go through and answer your questions and respond to them. We appreciate you all. We'll see you next month.